Hey, we've got this 2019 Carrera T here. This is the 9912 model. This model will be getting the upgraded headlights, which we'll be reviewing in this video, the matrix style LED and laser headlights. This car is equipped with a factory HID headlights, xenon, whatever you want to call it. It does have the daytime running lights integrated into the shrouds. We'll go over how that looks in just a moment. It's got that silver or light gray trim ring, which some people like, and a mixture of black and chrome inside the assemblies. Now, we do have services that will black out the interior further on this model. You can check it out on the website. We also have a lens option that'll give you the dark gray. It almost looks black exterior trim ring, which works better with some cars. I think this Carrera T, the Carrera T by nature comes with the gunmetal wheels and the gunmetal mirrors. I think this works pretty well, but the owner of this vehicle has customized it further and it is looking for a different kind of look at this point. So in this video, we'll compare the two assemblies going from HID to the new matrix style LED lights that are seen on the 992. We'll do some comparisons of the beam patterns, we'll measure the performance, and we'll see if these are worth it. All right, here's one of the assemblies. This is the driver's side. And obviously we'll get them on the vehicle in a little bit and compare them, but I just want to show you what they look like outside the vehicle. So very OEM looking. I think they're trying to mimic the 992 matrix style light. Even though they're calling this matrix light, this is not actually a matrix light. It will not have the matrix functions, but it'll give you that modern look. It'll be darker, it'll have a cool startup sequence. It does have LED low beams and a laser high beam, which means it's really bright and focused down the road for high beams. And it's got a little bit of a different daytime running light style. If you've seen the new Porsches, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about, but we'll light that up in a little bit, show you how it looks, and ultimately compare them to the original HID lights. But you can see right off the bat, these have a darker and more sportier appearance because of the darker trim ring and the darker internals, which I think gives it a little bit of a aggressive nature. But what's an aftermarket assembly if it doesn't perform right? It's definitely not something that we care about. So we know these are going to perform pretty well. Just how well is kind of left to be seen in this video, in this full comparison. All right, I've got the factory daytime running lights on now. And that is just the look that those 4 LEDs around the shroud give you. So when the vehicle is on during the day and you're driving down the road, this is what you see when the low beams are not activated. Just that 4-dot look. And it's a little bit different on the newer models. If you've seen them, they kind of look angrier and more sporty. And I'll show you what I mean by that when I install these new lights. But yeah, they're definitely adequate. They're super bright. They're definitely visible, and it's a signature Porsche look here. It's the fact that we're changing it up. We'll show you what the difference looks like. All right, here I've got the low beams on. Essentially in this assembly, it's very simple. There's no parking lights inside the headlight assembly. They're down in the bumper. So you got the main projector turned on. This customer is using fairly new installed Osram CVV bulbs. Those give a little bit of a cool white kind of modern day look, LED look. But you can see the daytime running lights are no longer on. They are not connected. It's just in this format. They're basically too bright to run at night. So this is how it ends up looking. You know, color-wise, these are fresh bulbs, so they're performing at its best. And we'll show you how that works in just a moment on the wall here. This is where they're situated. We're exactly 25 feet from the wall, and we will analyze the beam pattern shortly once I turn off the lights and get a lux meter on here so we can do a measurement of the light intensity and take a look at it, what's going on. All right, we got the warehouse lights off. This is what the car looks like on at night. So just the main projector beam. We got parking light on the side there on the fender, along with in the bumper cover. There's no parking light or daytime running light down there. And this is what we're looking at. So let's study the light on the ground, on how it's projecting. We can take a look at the foreground. We can take a look at the wall. We're fully centered off at 25 feet exactly. And let me lower the exposure just a little bit. All right, so you can see the driver's side projector is a little bit stronger. That's what it appears like in person too. It's got a little bit of a better hotspot. There's always one projector that works better, just like there's one arm of yours that's stronger than the other, or one leg. Just the way it goes with optics as well. These bulbs are pretty new. They were just installed a few months ago by our customer, the D3S Osram CBB. It's a cool blue boost bulb. So it's got a little bit more bluish color, modern day, but it doesn't look blue in person, it just looks like a modern day bulb. And I've got a lux meter here that we're going to analyze the light intensity. And right now we're just taking a look at the cutoff. It's a little bit fuzzy, pretty standard for a ZKW AFS projector. AFS means it's adaptive, it'll turn with the steering wheel. And you can see it's not really sharp, but it does have a little bit of bluish purple color to the output. And we will measure the output right underneath the cutoff, right where it counts the most, because you want that distance visibility. And we are hitting a strong about 570, 580 on the driver's side. And just to the eye, it looked a little bit weaker on the passenger side. Let's see what we're hitting. About 370, let's say, but we'll go off of the better side on the driver's side, and that was hitting, like I said, about 570, which is really strong. And we'll see what the new lights hit in terms of intensity, but that's not what's important. We're going to be analyzing the beam distribution, checking out the foreground, making sure that you're actually getting a true upgrade when you're switching to these aftermarket assemblies, because a lot of us aftermarket assemblies are really just focused on looks, and they do not have a big focus on the performance of the lighting system, which is clearly not what's important. So you want a mixture of looks and performance if you're going to be changing out your assemblies. Otherwise, it's a waste of money. So we'll install one of these and see how it goes. All right, here are the two lights side by side. The new matrix style is on the right, and the factory xenon light is on the left. So you can see, even though the factory one is not super chrome, it is much lighter in color due to the extra chrome and lighter exterior outline it has. The 991.2 require a bottom bracket. The lights do not slide out like the 991.1. So the manufacturer includes a bracket that can be put on. You can also swap on the original one. And one note, they had zip ties holding back the projector for shipping. When you clip the zip ties, you have to make sure that this cap is perfectly sealed on. I noticed that on the one that I didn't take out the screws fully, I left them in the cover while I was removing it and reinstalling it. This bottom part was not sealed, and I can actually show you what that looks like right here. So if you can see the gasket, I can basically see into the light. It's a little bit tough, but there is a very small hole. That is not positioned properly, and that will cause a sealing issue. So you definitely want to take that apart, make sure that's fully sealed. Otherwise, you're going to run into issues with water getting in. So that should be nice and tight, and there's 4 screws holding that on. So absolutely make sure that's good, because otherwise water's going to get in and you will have a lot of other problems. So I was incorrect. The bracket on the bottom cannot be fully transferred over to the new light. The manufacturer includes the brackets. They will slide on. I used a 5mm Allen. So it's kind of like the old style where you lock it in place. So this bracket slides on and then it's locked into place. That is the locked position. It'll make a snap, and then you will screw this in using the 2 nuts. So 991.2 just uses 2 nuts, 2 10mm up front, and that's how these get installed. It slides into place. This little portion in the middle right there, that little tab along with the outside tab slide into the back bracket of the fender, and they get locked in with these 2 10mm. And that piece holds the front bumper up. So make sure it's fully snapped in, otherwise your headlight will be a little loose and it won't be seated properly. So you'll be receiving a pair of harnesses, one for each side, a conversion harness to make sure that you have no errors. There is one lead that goes to the positive terminal connection on the battery area, which I'll show you where that goes in a little bit. But these are 100% plug and play, and we'll show you how that all looks in a moment. And a quick note, you will need to remove the gasket that sits around the lens. transfer that onto the light. You're gonna remove the two 10 millimeters nuts that sit on the bottom bracket of the new aftermarket light and bracket. And the two harnesses, I forgot to mention, one is longer. The longer one with the longer lead to the battery is for the driver's side, as it's a little bit further away from the battery location. So just a few things to note. All right, the assemblies are fully installed. We decided to install both of them. We were getting some errors when only one was installed, so we wanted to confirm that everything was good. And by that point, when you're working with those bottom brackets, making sure everything's aligned, checking fitment, didn't want to go back to the original one to make a comparison. However, we will be able to do the lux comparison and check out the beam and discuss everything with you. I think for this specific car, this car's color, this car's setup, these look absolutely amazing. They go well with the mirrors, they go well with the wheels, and to me, this looks 100% perfect, how it should be. Fitment's pretty good on these lights. Overall, very, very pleased with the way they look. And I will go into something special next once I turn on the vehicle. All right, so this has a neat little feature. It's called a startup sequence. We're gonna turn on the ignition. So anytime the ignition is keyed on, you will see this turn on white, turn to purple, and then back to white. All right, so here is the daytime running light positioning. And this is how it'll look. So you got those newer style, instead of the 4 dots, you almost have like angry eyebrow look. I don't know what you guys think about that, but it's definitely found on some of the newer Porsches. We've seen that in 992, the Cayenne, and it's definitely something that they're leaning towards. So I think it's pretty cool. And when you turn on the low beam, we'll show you what that looks like. It does get a little bit brighter in this area, right where you see those chrome reflectors. All right, so now that the low beam is on, you can see the camera's picking it up. You're gonna see flickering, that's all LED systems, but you can see those corners are lit up. It's really just the bleed of the projector coming out the sides, and it does magnify that look at night because the factory daytime running lights, they do turn off at night, so you just have a projector look, as you guys saw earlier in the video. Now with the low beam on, you do see more of that, 4-corner look with those LEDs. So certainly an improvement there in terms of the appearance if you're into this modern look. All right, so we will analyze the beam pattern and the output. And the first thing that I really like about these assemblies is that the light output is not too cool. And by what I mean about that is a cool color temperature. A lot of the aftermarket LED headlights are really, really on the cooler side. Some people don't mind it, but you don't want that for visibility and for performance. You actually want your lights to give a little bit of a warmer appearance. You're gonna see that on factory LED systems. And this is exaggerated. However, just like you see on the video, the driver's side, the passenger side light is a little bit brighter than the driver's side. And like we went over earlier in the video, with the stock lights, there was one that was stronger, and there's always going to be one light that is a little bit stronger than the other. So it's not unusual. And if we're analyzing the beam pattern, again, you're not seeing too much of a cool white, which is easier on the eyes, better for visibility, better for inclement weather. And the hotspots are pretty much right where you need them. Maybe a tiny bit on the lower side compared to the OEM, but it does fill in more. And you can tell that right underneath that cutoff line there, the hotspot in the intensity zone starts, which is better for distance visibility, and you need that for down the road. Especially on a car like this, you're gonna be driving it, I wanna say on the faster side, so you definitely want down the road visibility. And I've got the lux meter in my hand. We will do a quick lux test. If you guys remember, I think we were hitting about 570 earlier in the video on the stronger light. And we will check out, but the beams are nice and straight. That's another thing with aftermarket assembly. Sometimes they come uneven, and it'll basically make them impossible to align, but also you're gonna have a lot more light scatter and light bleed and light going where you don't need it, because in the distance, this all magnifies, so the beams need to be straight. Anyway, enough talking. Let's let the meter do the talking. And we're hitting about let's say 1040 lux. So it's not quite double the output, but that's really impressive considering this customer came in a few months ago for brand new bulbs. And overall, the beam pattern distribution of the light output's really solid for an aftermarket assembly. These are definitely an improvement in terms of the performance. We did notice, however, they don't have leveling anymore and they don't have the AFS feature. So this is a fixed setup. It will not have any leveling. So the lights will not adjust up and down automatically as the suspension compresses or decompresses, and it will not turn with the steering wheel. It was 100% plug and play. There was no errors on this 9912 with factory xenons. We installed the harness that was provided, we installed the brackets, and everything worked out. But that is something to take note. But if you have any questions, leave a comment below, and we'll go from there. Check out the product link in the description. We'll get that up in a moment, and we look forward to talking with you.